the Brown Act anyway. Let's get started. All right, this meeting is called to order at 5 p.m. Gina, usually we have the roll called at this point.
Okay, go. Kevin Dayton,
Here.
David Ortiz,
Here.
Ben Beasley,
Here.
Karina Mata, here, and Kurt Overnight.
Here. All right, we have a complete committee. In an introduction of a new member, Karina, I saw you were on the school board agenda a few weeks ago for your appointment. And maybe you could tell us about your background and connection to the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District and what led you to apply for this.
Yes, so my name is Karina. I have a daughter at the Dual Language Academy of the Monterey Peninsula. And I was just browsing the district website when I saw that there was this committee and there was openings, so I decided to apply. So I could contribute to the community and just give back and be part of this.
Excellent. Well, that's a great motivation. So thank you for applying and joining the committee. As you can see here, we still have two vacancies, senior citizen representative and community at large. And well, next time I'm in front of the board of the board of trustees, I will ask them to keep on looking for people to be appointed to those two positions. All right, at this point, why don't we discuss review of Citizens Oversight Committee roles and responsibilities, right?
Sure. So in your packet, you do have a brief presentation. I'm not going to go over every part of it in great detail, so I think some of it might be redundant for any of you, but if there's parts of it along the way, if you want to ask questions, feel free to do so. But really just outlining the role of the Citizens Oversight Committee and then the kind of reviewing the Brown Act just briefly, because this is a Brown Act meeting. So the primary role of the Citizens Oversight Committee is to inform the public, advise the public, and really review and report on the expenditures of the bond program. So you all are familiar with that, right? We're going to go over those activities tonight, but it's really looking at the expenditures that we spend each quarter. We're going to review those each quarter to make sure that the expenses that are coming through are in alignment with what the voters approved and what was in the ballot language. So there's nothing in there that's outside of that. So that'd be looking at the annual audits, which we bring to you, which you have a chance to review. You do have the opportunity, if you want to coordinate with me, if you ever want to see, like, go to a project that's happening. If you want to see something, just let me know. We can make arrangements for that to happen. Review other things that might be related to the district bonds, like if we're looking at other funding sources that may be able to maximize bond proceeds. And then other activities that may be directed by the school board. Again, the committee really is there to ensure that the revenues are only used for the construction related projects approved by the voters. You will see some staff related expenses. Those are allowable as long as they're directly connected to the bond, work on the bond. And then ensure that no funds are spent on teacher or administrative salaries. Not within the scope of the committee, so these things land with the school board, is the sale of the bonds and issuance of bonds, determining how bond funds shall be spent. So looking at project lists, those sorts of things, participating in the bid process for contractors or consultants or bond projects. And then, like, again, before visiting any active project, just seeking requests from me so I can coordinate that with you. I'm going to skip that section. The other thing that I'll go over briefly is that this meeting is subject to the Brown Act, so all of us are subject to the Brown Act. Brown Act meeting is a meeting that's held in public agencies where there's a very formal way that the meetings are conducted and how they're notified to the public. Primarily, the agendas have to be posted well in advance of the meetings. We keep minutes. The meetings happen in public. The public is welcome to attend. And that there's a lot more to it than that. There is also an element of having quorum, so no action can be taken by the committee unless there's a majority quorum of the committee, as well as outside of the committee meetings, a quorum of members can't participate in any activity. So it would be, for example, if you all wanted to come visit a school facility project, I wouldn't have you all do it at one time. I'd have to break it up so that we didn't have a quorum of any members present at any one location. That could be considered a meeting, and so we would be in violation of the Brown Act. So those are the primary components of that. Meetings happen in public, they're agendized, open to the public, and we announce what those agendas are ahead of time. The other component of that is what is published on the agenda. We can't review outside of that or take anything on outside of that. We have to stick it in here to the agenda, so we can't discuss topics that weren't on the agenda. I covered the quorum and voting. I think that's the primary items that I wanted to go over with all of you. Are there any questions related to any of those?
I'll just make one comment that the concept of the school district bond oversight committees was put in state law in 2000, when there was a ballot measure that reduced the threshold for passage under certain circumstances from 2/3 to 55%. And when the legislature was debating what to put into that, the big abuse that was going on in the 1990s was a few school districts in Los Angeles County were taking bond money and putting it into their general fund and using it for purposes that weren't related to school construction. So really our purpose is, we're a check and balance. If the school board or the school district administrators are taking money and putting it into something that's not approved by the voters or isn't school related, ideally, we would get a report each quarter, which is what we're gonna look at. And our job is basically to look at the expenses and make sure that there's nothing in there that would be contrary to what the voters wanted and would be contrary to state law and what we're supposed to do. So, there are still school districts where occasionally abuses are found. But I've been on this committee since 2018, and we get these reports that you'll see in a minute, and never had a problem. All right, so if there's no further comments on that, this is time for public comments. This is for items that are not on the agenda, but are related to our business. And each speaker will have 2 minutes to talk. There was nobody in this room for public comment. And I'm assuming we don't have the Zoom operational.
No, there's nobody.
There's nobody on anyway, okay. All right, well, that takes care of that. Next item, review and adopt minutes of March 12th, 2025 meeting. I know some of you worked on the committee back then. But these are, I've looked these over now twice because we didn't have a meeting in June. So anybody want to make a motion to approve them? Don't have any questions about it?
So moved. Yeah, second.
All right, let's do a roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And clarification, if you're not on the
Second.
board, if you weren't on the board, you did not vote on this, right?
I think technically you can, but probably abstaining would be the best approach.
So,
Okay. David Ortiz,
approved.
Ben Beasley.
Approved.
Karina Mata, she was not, sorry, she was saying. Kurt Overmeyer.
Aye.
And Kevin Bates.
Minutes are approved. All right, review financials for Measure I and project updates. January 1st to March 31st of this year, the third quarter. They do a quarter that starts on July 1st. The reason why we're looking at quarter 3 before quarter 4 is because we didn't have a quorum at the June meeting, so we're gonna be looking at 2 quarters. So Ryan, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you. So as Mr. Dayton spoke to already, we are going to look at multiple quarters here. The first, and again, we're only looking at Measure I, so that's the only active bond measure that we had fiscal activity for during this quarter. We do have Measure A. So all of you will be reviewing activity for Measure I and Measure A. There just hasn't been anything in this quarter for Measure A to report. We will have some activity going forward, but that's why we're only looking at Measure I for now. So this is for quarter 3, and as we normally do, I think if you would like some time to go through the reports as a committee, but essentially what you're looking at is each school campus. You're looking at the activity, any bond related activity, construction related projects for those schools. It's broken down so you can see, for example, the first one is Bayview campus improvements. You'll see that there was some small activity there, but you can see what it was for. That particular one was a classroom upgrade, DSA closeout. So that's how the first section of this report is organized by school site and the expenditure under the projects that were happening at that particular site.
And the next thing we'll look at after that is we'll look at the same expenditures again, but we'll look at them based on who the recipient of the contract was. So we do a cross-reference to make sure that nothing slips by us. So what we do here is, I think we'll just take 3 or 4 minutes where everybody can scan through these. And if you have a question, about any of the items, either because it's unclear or because you think that perhaps that's not, appropriate, that would be, you could just yell out, for Ryan for the page number and the item, and he'll give an explanation of that.
And that first section of the report really is a small report, because Q3 had not as much activity, so that's really only, I think, around 3 pages for that first part of the report.
Okay, well, that's what we need, about 1 minute then.
The printers kind of fade, is it just me, my eyesight, or is it?
No, it's the laser printer. They don't like that green. Might have to change that. Yeah, I was noticing that too. The white on green doesn't come across. It comes across well in the spreadsheet on your computer.
I'm always interested in hearing about the emergency repairs. I see one for Monterey High School, line 17 on page 4. What went wrong?
Um, this was emergency repairs. This would have been time frame. Would that have been? That would have been. This may have to do with a repair of a roof that was leaking. I believe that's what that was. I'm trying to go back 9 months from now. We have, unfortunately, these emergencies happen more often than I would like,
Yeah,
considering the aging facilities. I believe that one. I'll have to go double check that, but I believe that emergency repair for this particular expense. I can cross-reference and look at the vendor when we get there. But I
okay,
believe
that's great.
emergency.
I bring these up because whenever somebody in the public says, oh, you don't really need these bond measures, I point out the emergency repairs and point out the age of our facilities. So I've been tracking over the years when emergencies happen, especially the old 4-door type stuff.
Yeah, it happens, when we have weather events, things tend to creep up. We'll have some flooding, we'll have some things when you have a roof that leaks, it's more than just that, right? You tend to have dry rot in the wall, or things dry out, mold remediation, so it turns into a larger project. Unfortunately, those things happen from time to time.
All right, does anybody have any questions? So actually for Karina, for district-wide improvements at the end of page 5, you'll see various oddball things there and. Actually, Ryan, it might be good to explain the spread holding. Since that often appears, it would be line number 31. What is spread holding?
So part of the overall cost of doing bond related work, there's multiple things that go into that. So it's not just the construction, like actual building the thing, right? Or the architectural design of whatever it is that we're doing. There's other costs to manage the project. Some costs that may not be directly related to any one project. That we put in spread holding, and then we'll spread that out through the projects throughout at the end of the year. So think that's kind of like a holding place for things that aren't specific project specific. We've kind of gotten away from doing that based on our auditors. Certain things we used to do is put all of the administrative costs for construction management costs, put those into a spread holding account and spread those across the projects proportionally. Working with our auditors, they felt like that wasn't really necessary to do that. So now we've gotten away from that. So that's why you'll see less things in spread holding, but that's what that is. Things will be spread across, or we used to spread across all projects.
Any questions about this report? We don't have anybody from the public, so we will move on to the warrant activity for Q3.
So this report is the same projects that you were looking at the previous report, but this is the vendor related details. So this shows you what vendors were paid for which project. So this will show you the actual amounts that were paid for the total dollar amounts broken down by vendors. You'll see the first one is 101 Builders. And then the school site in which we had an expense for 101 Builders, in this case, it would have been La Mesa Elementary School, and then the costs, the dollar amounts that were paid for them.
All right, let's take a couple minutes to scan through these and see if there's anything to ask about. Starting with it's page 6 it starts. Okay, we'll give it 30 more seconds. I did have a few things where I wanted for new members, a few things to point out for you to explain. All right, first, somebody might ask, hey, furniture, that's not construction. Is furniture a bond, authorized bond?
Yeah, good question. So furniture, is considered a bond expense, right? So the full construction cost of the project, if you're building new classrooms or retrofitting, modernizing classrooms, furniture will be an allowable expense. Other things that you might see, and this may come up, as well. Technology related expenses, are also allowable if the ballot language had written in that and that was voter approved. Then technology like laptops, Chromebooks, those sorts of things would be allowable expenses under the bond as well. In the particular case of Measure I, technology was a component of that, general school modernizations, construction was included, as well as things like buses and district vehicles were also part of the bond.
So for somebody in the public who says, why are you buying a computer for a few years and, borrowing money for a 30-year payback on this? What's your answer for those?
Yeah, it's another good question, and we actually have, in a later agenda item, we're gonna hopefully make that delineation a little bit clearer for everybody. With the new format for these reports, but, there's a couple of ways you can handle that, so that's a good question. You don't want laptop may last you, 5, 6 years. You don't want to finance that over 30 years. So what we've done is you can issue what's called short-term or shorter-term bonds that will be repaid back over a shorter period of time. In this case, that's a 10-year period. So you can do a series of bond issuance at a certain dollar amount where it factors in that the total amount that you're issuing will be repaid within the 10-year period. So we do that. We typically do 2 issuances of bonds each time we go out for a sale. We'll do a short-term dollar amount that we'll use for short-term things like laptops and vehicles. And then we'll also do a much larger issuance. That's the more traditional 30-year repayment. And those are things that will fund construction-related projects.
Great, any questions on that? Some items here I saw that might be ambiguous: document management. And Monterey County Weekly.
Document management, typically that's where plan sets, older plan sets, things will be scanned into digital format so that we have those. All the new plans that we get are obviously digital, but there are older things that we didn't have, or just may require for us to print out documents to have either for stakeholder engagement. So we're printing out document plan sets or renders that we're using to show other individuals. So there is those administrative costs that you'll see. Those are perfectly allowable to execute the bond. So those are costs directly related to administering and executing the bond program. And then the weekly, you'll see newspaper advertisements. So when things go out to bid, we're required to post them publicly in a newspaper. So that's why you'll see mostly it's the weeklies where you'll see the expenses going, and those are bid announcements, and we're advertising for bids.
All right, any more questions about Q3?
Yeah, right, so I've never seen it before. The county recording piece, it hasn't seen that one before. It's small, it's $500.
County recording. Yeah, so depending on the types of projects, so there's a couple. One is we record notice of completions with the county. So every time a project's complete, we follow what's called a notice of completion, letting the county know that, hey, this project's been complete. And what that does is there's a certain amount of money that we hold back on construction projects. So if any of the subcontractors or there's any outstanding payments owed to a subcontractor from the main contractor, that files a note saying, hey, we're completing this project. If there's any outstanding debt, they need to come ask for it now to the subcontractor because we're going to close the project out. So that's typically what you'll see. We file with the county recorder's office. There may be some other documents outside of that we may have to file time to time. Easements come up that we have to file. We'll file those. But those are typically what you see that.
Great, and we have no public comment here, so we will move on now to the Q4. And Ryan, I guess we could just do the same thing as before. Now we're going to look at the financials that are classified based on the location where the work was done.
Before you do that though,
Oh, new
we have a new
format,
format.
yes.
So maybe we can take, so we wanted to Lorena works really hard with, our consultant to make sure we get these reports completed for you. There's a lot of work that goes into compiling these. We have to take it out of our financial system. We put it into another system, and these where these reports are generated. Lorena has to work with them just to reconcile everything, just to make sure when we take in information, exchanging it, we want to make sure that nothing gets, there's nothing, mislabeled or it gets transmitted correctly. Looking at that, the format that you have been reviewing has been the committee's preference for several years. We kind of went through a bunch of different iterations on that format of the reports, and that's what we settled on. Working with our consultants, they work with districts across the state. And so they presented us with a format that they thought might be more beneficial, just because it's a little bit easier to read. So I wanted to present that to you so you can take a look at it. It's the exact same information. It's just presented in, I think, a more easier to digest way. So if you want to take a look at the packet that you have that's separate from your binder,
Yes.
if you can take a look at the pages, maybe going to page, I don't know if it's labeled, I think it's the third page. It's the one that says Measure I expenditure by series, Series A.
Is this the page 2? Oh, I see.
Like 4.
I think it's 4, yeah.
Okay.
So as I was pointing out earlier, there's different series in the bond. So the other format doesn't really delineate between what series the expenditures happen. It just was, hey, this expenditure happened in this quarter. So in this format, we actually have the expenditures broken out by series. So for example, you can see this particular expenditure, Series A, we did have a large expense for staff laptops. And so it's in that Series A is a short-term. Series A is the short-term bond financing that we have. If you go to the next page, you can see the next series of expenditure for Series B. This is one of the long-term series issuances that we have. So this
Would we
is,
know that, or is A always short term?
it says, I think it might be up front here.
Yeah, there's an index on page 2, Measure
Yeah.
I overview.
On the one that has the pie chart, it
Got
actually
it,
shows you
okay.
short-term versus long-term. And we do it like that. We'll always do the first one, the first letter in the issuance. We'll try to do that as a short-term, and then the second is the long-term. If you go to the page that says expenditure by Series B, again, these are long-term bonds. These are the projects that happen at those school sites and their dollar amounts by that series. And when you've had a chance to look at that, we can go to the next page.
Some of these say closed and some of them do not. For example, for Series C expenditures, we have staff laptops, district office closed. And then another line. Well, actually, there's multiple lines here. Some of them say closed, some of them not. What are the open ones about?
So open means that the potential to anticipate maybe some other costs coming in on those, so we haven't fully closed out that project yet. Measure I, Series A and B, for the most part have been fully expensed, so we don't have funding available in those series anymore. We've spent most of them, of all of that. I think this will probably be the last quarter that will have expenses. So going forward, you won't see expenses in Series A or B because we've used all of that money. You're just going to see C and D going forward for Measure I.
But it's a very Series C, so it says student laptops closed $175,000 in the district office. Why would that seems like there's a.
So when something's district wide, we'll code it to the district office. So that was student laptops we use those across the district. Those are the site codes in the financial system. You'll see district office data center upgrades as well. We don't have a data center here. It's actually at our support facility, but we code it to the kind of the general administration district office.
So it's not necessarily geographically.
Correct. The other sites are, the district office is kind of a placeholder for district wide type.
That's perfect, that helps.
For the data center upgrades, is this a data center in Silicon Valley or something that you have a share in?
No, it's actually a data center that we have at our district services center in the IT department. We have it's a good size for a school district. It's where all of the servers, all the networking equipment,
So it is in the district.
It is in the district, yes, physically located here. Or at the district service.
I'm sorry, I thought I had heard that it wasn't. It
No,
was
that's-
somewhere
yeah.
else.
So that's Series C, and then D, this is where the bulk of the expenditures are going to be, because this is the series in which we have funding in. Again, this format is the same as what you previously reviewed, it's just, I think it's a little bit cleaner to present it this way. So if you like this format, we'll replace, the existing format that we have been using, well, going forward, we can present it to you in this way, if that's your preference.
It's definitely more readable.
Yeah, I think so. The last new thing on this report is the expenditure summary by campus. In the quarterly report, this just gives a summary, again, a little bit more condensed, easier to read. It shows the activity by campus, by series. So it's just kind of a summary of what you just looked at. By each column is either what series, and then the campus name, and then the overall combined expenditures for that quarter for each series. And I think this will be helpful going forward as well, as we start to get Measure A projects. There'll be a column for Measure A, so you can see what Measure I projects and what Measure.
I like this.
If everybody likes it, thumbs up, we can make that official.
Yes,
Kevin, are you wanting to review this new form right now, or you want
yes, I guess, one of the things is the first two, first of all, I like that we've added on the, which each series is using, so that we know that we can be assured that when technology is bought, it isn't being stuffed into the 30-year bonds. The second one is so easy, you can look at it in, 10 seconds and see what's going on. For the vendor report, that, we can,
The vendor reports is the same, so we didn't, the details or the report style for the vendor report has not changed. So
I think it's good that we have this, so that we can look at, particular, line items a little more closely, so, why don't we take
to, do we need to take a formal action on this? Will that?
no, I just need the kind of a thumbs up.
I don't think so, we're getting the same information, do you, what, but if you feel more comfortable about approving this, go ahead. and make
Oh,
a
no,
motion.
I don't think we need to take a formal action, I just wanted to make sure that we were following the rules. But
Yeah, no,
If
this
you're
is,
happy with a thumbs up from everyone, then.
yeah,
Okay.
this is it's a review item, so there wouldn't be any action anyway, but you wouldn't have to take action on. The report format, that could just be, hey, how you can give me feedback on how you like it presented, and we can give it to you.
Yeah, I don't think we actually have any official rules, and you know what, we're much more detail oriented than the vast majority of bond oversight committees, to be honest with you, so I'm sure a lot of them, I'm sure, a staff from other districts say, I can't believe that your bond oversight committee does all that stuff, but, you know what, we don't have a problem here. So I would spend 5 minutes looking through the vendor report for the fourth quarter and ask questions, and we'll be done with it. For the item, education housing partners, $10,000. Housing developer, this is the beginning of the expenditures for the, workforce housing on Gardner Road.
And that cost will actually be moved out of here and will move into Measure A. Yeah.
International Dark Sky Association. Would you explain what that expenditure was?
Yeah, that's a certification,
Okay,
for when it's a program that you can participate in. They come certify your projects for lighting projects. In our case, it was stadium lighting, to be in compliance with what they call the dark sky. It's a certification that essentially says that your lighting project is adhering to all the best practices. It's not overly polluting, it's not contributing to light pollution. You've installed them in such a way that it meets all their criteria and standards. So it's kind of an industry certification. It's important for us to get it because as we install the new lights, they're very efficient in the way how they work. Literally, if you're on the back side of the lights, they're very dark and they're not bleeding light into the neighboring community, and causing additional light pollution.
are you getting one from Monterey High School too?
Yes, that project is that Monterey High School and Marina High School both.
You know, has this been before the school board? That they did this?
Yes, we've talked to them. They're aware that they were through the entire process, they were aware that
I'd
was.
love to, you know what, I'd love to see a specific item at the beginning of the meeting, just announcing that these two stadiums have gotten this, or maybe having somebody from the association congratulate you. That would rebut some of the complaints that the beautiful Bay Area is being destroyed by football field lights. I actually think that's an important thing, just to.
Okay,
You know,
I
we
can,
don't
yeah,
vote on this
definitely
or
pass that
anything.
along to them and see if we.
But maybe I'll even send a note to PK saying, hey, I saw this here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is everybody wrap it up? We'll take another, yeah. Did anybody see anything that was of concern or had a question on? Great. And we have no one here for public comments. So warrant activity for fourth quarter and a new format has been discussed. Future meeting dates.
So we have the next meeting on December 3rd. At that meeting, we'll discuss that's the last day that we have, and so we meet 4 times a year quarterly. Heidi will reach out and coordinate, getting some ideas, and then we can discuss potential meeting dates, past the third.
Committee member comments, does anybody have any suggestions, things that you think might be good to bring before the board, for my facilities, anything else?
I just want to congratulate you on that. All right, it's called the new athletic facilities look fantastic and didn't help my kid, but the boys I'm coaching in the future, it's gonna help them a lot.
It's great. It was a good night last Friday.
One of the big controversies of our committee over the past 7 years is, objecting to that, and, if you're ever before the board, give them praise, for sticking it out all the way, I've done so. All right, with that, meeting is adjourned.